One of the easiest things to miss on Florida's Gulf Coast is just how much natural beauty is living alongside everyday life. Pelicans glide past swimmers, tiny shorebirds weave between footprints in the sand, laughing gulls circle beach restaurants waiting for the perfect opportunity to steal a french fry. Dolphins surface beside marinas full of people loading coolers into boats for the day. And most people barely seem to notice any of it. Every time I come back here, that's the thing that stands out to me the most. There's something about the Gulf Coast in spring that feels alive. Even early in the morning, before the beach fully fills up, life is already unfolding everywhere. Boats drift quietly through the marina. Brown pelicans perch along the pilings waiting for the day to begin. Seagulls call overhead while the sun slowly rises over the water. And somehow, even with all that movement, the whole place still feels calm. For me, part of that feeling comes from how naturally wildlife blends into everyday life here. Not separated from it, not hidden away from people, just existing right alongside everything else. As the day goes on, the beach becomes packed with people. People layering on sunscreen, umbrellas covering the sand, music playing, kiteboarders gliding across the water and lifting high into the air before splashing back down again, restaurants filling up, boats moving through the Gulf. But underneath all that activity, there's another layer of movement happening constantly. Tiny shorebirds darting along the edge of the surf, pelicans skimming low over the waves, crows and laughing gulls watching every beach picnic like tiny opportunists waiting for their moment. The beach can be crowded, loud, and busy, and still full of wildlife most people never stop to look at. One of my favorite birds to watch here is the brown pelican. They're huge birds, but somehow they barely seem to move at all when they fly. They glide so smoothly over the water that they almost don't look real. So graceful. I could probably spend hours just watching pelicans fly along the coastline. And while I was filming them, people all around me were swimming, talking, relaxing in beach chairs, and walking by without even looking up. Not because people don't care necessarily. I think most people just get pulled into whatever they came here to do, which is completely understandable. But meanwhile, all this wildlife activity keeps unfolding quietly in the background. The laughing gulls definitely weren't staying in the background though. Back in January, most of the laughing gulls here had pale gray and white heads during the non breeding season. But by spring, they develop these dark, black hoods that make them instantly recognizable. Their personalities are pretty recognizable too. At one point, I watched a fancy beach picnic turn into complete chaos after a few gulls realized there was food nearby. One girl actually threw her shoe trying to scare them away. Later, I noticed thin, crisscross wires hanging above an outdoor restaurant near the beach. They're there to help deter the gulls from swooping down onto people's food. And for the most part, the system works. But one especially determined laughing gull still managed to steal several fries from the family sitting behind me. A few seconds later, a whole flock rushed in trying to steal the fries from him. It's hard not to admire that persistence a little. The more time I spent slowing down and paying attention, the more smaller moments started standing out too. Ruddy turnstones racing along the shoreline, searching through seaweed and wet sand for tiny marine creatures hidden underneath. A snowy egret standing quietly near the marina while people fished nearby. Shorebirds weaving in and out of the waves so quickly they almost look like moving wind-up toys. And near the dunes, I spotted a flock of Monday parakeets blending almost perfectly into the greenery. At first, I barely even saw them, but I definitely heard them. They were foraging among the dune sunflowers growing along the coast, surrounded by bright green leaves and flashes of yellow flowers. They blended into the plants so well that most people walking past probably never realized they were there at all. That's part of what keeps drawing me back here. Not just the beach itself, but the feeling that there's always another small moment waiting to be noticed. One morning at the marina, that hidden layer of life suddenly became impossible to ignore. People were loading coolers into boats and getting ready for a day of fishing when a pod of dolphins swam right through the marina. For a moment, everything else seemed to pause. Even after seeing dolphins before, it still feels a little unreal every time. And then, just as quickly, life continued on again. Boats pulling away from the docks, people fishing, gulls circling overhead. Moments like that are just woven into the everyday rhythm of the coast. One of my favorite moments happened right after sunset. I spotted a sanderling running along the edge of the water while the sky was getting darker by the minute. At the same time, my husband had quietly started filming me while I was trying to film the bird. And I love that clip because it captures exactly what this place feels like to me. Not some huge dramatic wildlife encounter, just small moments of connection quietly happening all around you. A bird running along the shoreline after sunset, Waves rolling onto the beach, shells scattered across the sand, people slowly heading home for the evening. Little moments most people would probably walk right past. I think that's what keeps pulling me back to Florida's Gulf Coast. The feeling that nature here never fully separates itself from everyday life. It moves quietly around you constantly. Above crowded beaches, around outdoor restaurants, out in the marina between the boats, hidden in the dunes, skimming over the waves. You just have to slow down long enough to notice it. Take care.